classmates who I know lean left of center, who then came out and were just like, well, have you ever considered the fact that we might also have classmates who have a different point of view on these questions, and you may not just want to be donating to one particular side of this cause? And there was just a debate amongst them. So I didn't really get further involved in this. I rarely post on that list. That was just a two-liner that I had to share to offer.
Have they attacked you and JD personally on the list?
You know, I don't read most of the emails. I think there have been a lot of unfriendly things said, yes.
So you got to wonder about that whole world.
Yeah.
I mean, so Trump went to Penn, JD went to Yale. So you still have two guys with Ivy League degrees.
Yeah.
In the top two.
By the way, I don't think there's any far from there being shame in that. Like I had a great experience at Harvard and Yale, and we learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no.
I think independently. I got a better education because of a lot of these people leaning left. You get questioned more than the average person.
I bet that's right.
Yeah.
But there's also, over the past several years, there's been a lot of evidence that those schools, probably aren't good for a lot of the kids.
They're not the same places they were even.
Kids who go there. I mean, you've got a strong personality. You know what you think. You're not dependent on other people's approval. Obviously, you don't seem to care that much. But most people, young people, really do care what the herd thinks. And for those kids, like a lot of them get destroyed and become completely irrational and into the witchcraft of transgenderism or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they become like not really functioning people. And you just wonder, like, how long does the prestige attached to those institutions, particularly in, say, China, which keeps them afloat?
Yeah,
maybe not Yale, but like below Yale, a lot of these schools are dependent on
absolutely
rich Chinese.
Yeah.
So, like, when does that end? When do we stop genuflecting before these places?
Either they're going to massively change what they are and what they represent, or they're going to go the way of the dustbin of history.
They are, right?
They kind of are. So the thing is, there's a difference between even these places now versus 20 years ago. It's just like not the same place and the same institution. Harvard, Yale always lean left, always have had a very, certainly self-important view of themselves. That's always been the case. But they were institutions, certainly when I was there, I can tell you from experience, where alternative ideas were tolerated. There was good debate. I actually learned a lot from being pushed by classmates who had different points of view than mine. I evolved in some of my views. It's a beautiful thing. That's what's supposed to happen through a supposedly liberal arts education. That is not the institution of Harvard or Yale or countless others like them that exist today. There's something dramatic has changed as they have lost their North Star is no longer, at least dated as of, let's just say, 6 months to a year ago. Maybe a lot's going to change. We're no longer committed to the pursuit of knowledge, and we're committed to the pursuit of affirmative social goals. Like Harvard's top goal, it seems, is to drive social change in the world rather than to actually educate their students. Yale has completely abandoned the idea of free speech, that the expression of certain ideas is itself constitutes an act of violence in a way that they no longer would tolerate on their campus. And I think all of that's going to have to change, because otherwise you're going to actually produce a bunch of, let's just say, effete graduates that aren't going to go on to actually accomplish very much, which gives the next generation very little incentive to want to go through those institutions.
That's exactly
in the first place. And so, what's going to happen? Either they're going to become increasingly irrelevant and go through this process of elegant decay that they're in right now. Either they evolve or die. So those are the two choices, I would say.
Just like all of us.
Yeah, it's true.
So Christmas is coming and winter is coming. And that's the perfect combination for Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth is a company that makes exactly what it sounds like. Products that are close to the earth and that are quite cozy. And you should consider them this Christmas. They have the best sheets available. They're made out of bamboo, believe it or not. And it's hard to believe how great they are until you try them. We have, and they are great. They're a great fit for everybody in their shopping list. What sets them apart? Well, their fabrics are temperature regulating. That means they keep you cool and cozy, or warm and cozy, depending on the temperature. And they have a 10-year warranty. So if anything goes wrong with your sheets, you get free ones. Go to CozyEarth.com/Tucker. Use our promo code Tucker for up to 40% off. And if they ask, tell them the Tucker Carlson Show sent you. Everyone here uses those sheets and loves them.
So what are the effects of Trump's win?
I think it's a renewal of national self-confidence, actually. I think that we're going to be more sure of ourselves as Americans. I think we already are. I think that the idea that people are, a lot of people who would have either felt uncomfortable saying they supported Donald Trump or didn't even think they did, but now realize that they actually value what he represents, have a greater sense of conviction in themselves, have a greater sense of conviction in America. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Oh, I mean, gold dropped $100 an ounce in like an hour.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works.
And gold, of course, is a bet against the U.S. dollar. So
the rest of the stock market went exactly in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
And so, markets reflect confidence. And I think the revival of our self-confidence is the most important thing, actually, because everything else, we could talk about the issues set, fixing the border, restoring law and order, enforcing the law, ending rampant crime in the country, growing the economy. All of those things require a certain level of self-confidence in America, requires a certain sense of spine in who we are. To be able to say, okay, an economy grows when people are willing to take risks. You're not willing to take risks to create a new business or to grow, or to invest in a new venture unless you have actual confidence in yourself and your ability to do that. Same thing with respect to the rule of law. You have to believe in the validity of American rule of law to actually stand by it, even when it's actually hard or unpopular to do so. Same thing to say that our own border actually means something. You have to have confidence in a nation to believe that that nation is worth protecting. If you actually don't believe in what's inside, then there's no real reason that you have to protect it physically either. So I think the revival of our national self-confidence is the most important thing Donald Trump has delivered and I think is going to deliver for the country. And if we get that back, the rest of it's actually pretty easy. It sort of falls into place more or less automatically, I would say.
But along the way, there are all kinds of obstacles. And the first obstacle is finding the right people to staff the government.
Yes.
Which was it, and Trump has said this himself, including to me, like the day before he got elected in public. I didn't have anyone to run the government, and there were a lot of bad people wound up in positions of real authority. Will it be different this time?
I think it will, actually. I think it will because, first of all, we're all human beings, Donald Trump included, has learned a lot from that first term. I think that if you have somebody who had never run for office before, and I'm particularly sympathetic to this, I ran for president without knowing what the heck I was getting into. And it was very much a fire first, aim later strategy for me over the last year when I ran. And so I can deeply empathize with Donald Trump's first run for president. But not only did he run for the first time, he actually won the first time as well. And to be able to get in there, as you said, I wasn't there, but it sounds like without even that much of an expectation of winning, I think the system was able to strike back before he and his team were able to get their arms around the system. And even still accomplished a lot. I mean, I think that first term was, you and I said this when we spoke the other day, but it was like the most successful president of the 21st century, which is setting a very low bar because the other presidents in the 21st century have been awful. George Bush, Joe Biden, Barack Obama are the others, and Donald Trump was unambiguously the best of that batch. But I think the idea that there's certain things you can only learn by doing it. I mean, even running for president, there's only certain things I could have learned about that process by doing it. Now, let alone leading the country. I think there's only certain things Donald Trump could have learned by actually being in that position. And so this time around, I think he is laser focused on making sure that the people he puts into those positions actually share broadly his vision for the country, broadly share an allegiance. People make like this some kind of bad thing, but an allegiance to him personally. I'm sorry, if you're running a company, you can't run that company as a CEO if the people who work for you actively dislike you or wish to undermine you personally.
Well, sure.
Even if they believe in the company's product, it doesn't work if they actually actively hate the CEO. So I don't know why the liberal press actually likes to make a big deal out of the fact that Donald Trump wants people who will also share a personal allegiance to him and are mission aligned. I think both of those things are required for a functioning organization.
It's authoritarian, because under Trump, the FBI was always showing up at people's houses and stealing their cell phones and carting them off to, oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
These people are totalitarians.
Yeah, it's actually...
I know a lot of people personally. I'm friends with people who've been the target of FBI raids, including today. Alfie Oakes, who's a wonderful man.
We visited his restaurant and shop, in South Florida, Naples. Good man. I don't know anything about the allegations.
Best grocery store in the United States. I have no idea.
He's a very kind human being who was immensely. He just took such great care of our family in the short time we spent with him.
He's a wonderful person.
I was shocked to see that.
Outspoken conservative and outspoken Trump voter,
which is your right to do in this country.